Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm pretty excited today. I'm joined by wrestling power couple Kristen and Luis Chevere. So welcome, Kristen and Luis.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. Did I get that right? Is that the way you pronounce it? I didn't think so. It didn't sound right to me. Give it to me right.
Yeah, it's Chevere.
Chevere.
Chevere. There's an.
I'm gonna have to practice that one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. She still struggles with it. So.
Well, I was going to ask you, but I was like, well, I'll just go on and listen to a few interviews. So I know that I'm not the only one that's gotten it.
Oh no, everybody butchers it, but that's okay. You know, it's not an easy last name.
Is that Puerto Rican maybe?
Yes, it's Spanish. It means great or cool.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. My wife is a Flores.
Okay.
Yeah, so her dad was born in Juarez, Mexico. Okay. So you would think I would have picked up a little of that, but no.
Yeah. She hasn't either. Don't worry.
Well, it's okay. It sounds so good when you say it, though.
Thank you. I shouldn't be able to say it. I mean, I've had it my whole life.
Yeah. So. Did you grow up in Puerto Rico?
Yes, I grew up in Puerto Rico until about the age of 11. And then my mother moved myself and her to Florida when I was in 6th grade. So I was about 11 or 12 when we moved to the States. Yeah,
that's really neat. So when I was asked to do the interview, I said, I've got this. It was presented as I've got award-winning hairstylists that are also wrestlers, and I was like, what? But then when I thought about it, those actually seem to me like they would go pretty well together. Is that the case? Talk a little bit about that and how, your experience as hairstylists have helped you with the wrestling side of it.
Well, I'd say initially we've loved wrestling. Both of us have loved wrestling our whole lives. But when we got together, that was kind of something that brought us together as hairstylists who also love wrestling. We're like, this is amazing. Through the joys of social media, we were able to connect with a few well-known wrestlers as well, and actually start doing their hair. And then got us into the business in a roundabout way, just meeting people and then them telling us who we should go to, where we should go to, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty much like what she said. Yeah, we met some people through social media, and the great thing about it is now those people who were just professional wrestlers whose hair we did have become really great friends. So that not only inspired us to get into the wrestling industry, but it's also gave us some really good connections in the industry. So it's really cool. Nothing at all that we expected to happen, but it's worked out really well for both of us.
Well, and you do all your own costumes, your own hair, makeup, everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
the total package.
Yeah, it makes it easier. Obviously, it saves a lot of money. It does, it takes more time and more creativity, but it's always hard when you've got a vision in your mind and you can't really translate it into words. So that's helped us a lot when it comes to creating our own gear, our wrestling gear, our entrance gear. And we've created stuff for other people as well. So it makes it a lot easier, but it takes a lot more time.
Well, yeah, of course it does. I've watched some of the videos of your wrestling, which is amazing. But even just seeing you in your outfits, I was like, I would go see them. Your outfits are amazing. And they're so complimentary of each other. It's just, my son went through a phase when he was younger, as a lot of us do, where he was way into wrestling, which meant I was way into wrestling. And you two would fit on any wrestling program I would watch.
Thank you.
And that's even if you couldn't wrestle, but I've seen you wrestle. I know you can wrestle.
Thank you.
So let's start. Let's back up a little bit. Luis, talk a little bit about, what made you want to get into the entertainment business? What got you into hairstyling? What did you do as a young man and kind of talk about that little journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. So hair and both wrestling started about when I was in my teens. I mean, I got into wrestling as a child because growing up in Puerto Rico, that was kind of the big thing to watch. It was that and baseball. Those were like the two things that everybody in Puerto Rico watched. So the hair I got into when I was in high school, I would just do my friend's hair. I would do my own hair just for fun.
Yeah.
And I went into a work school program where you would go to school part-time and then you would work part-time. So the job that I got was a receptionist at a hair salon. And I would just come in and I would watch them do hair and I would start cutting my own hair. And they took me to a hair show, which is essentially a big convention where there's different booths and there's people doing hair on stages, promoting products, education. And once I saw that, it was kind of like, this is what I want to do. Like, it wasn't, I want to do hair. It was, I want to do this.
Right.
And, you know, we both have been very fortunate to be able to do it. I did try going to wrestling school when I was about 19 years old, but I was a 19-year-old kid. So my priorities really weren't very good. And, you know, I was 19, so I didn't have the most reliable vehicle.
Of course.
Did not like making that hour drive to training. And then it decided to say, I'm done with everything.
I've been there.
Yeah. And then I got into hair, into actually doing hair school. After I worked at a tattoo shop where I was a body piercer for about a year or two. And so when the shop closed, it was kind of like, what am I going to do now? Like, I don't want to work retail. I don't want to do this. So I decided to pursue hair. And so I've been doing hair for 13 years. I've been lucky enough. We both have been lucky enough to do hair in different states, like education, hair shows. We both main staged in London Salon International. We're the first two Americans to main stage in London. We've done education in Ireland. I was fortunate enough to do a barber expo in Montreal, Canada. And the furthest and probably biggest one that I've done besides any of the North America ones was I did a barber show called BarberCon in Moscow, Russia.
There's actually a BarberCon.
Oh yeah. So it's really, so in Russia, it's a two-part. It's a half tattoo shop or half tattoo
show
convention and then a half barber convention. So I actually got to meet Ami James from Miami Ink.
Oh wow. Yeah.
It was really nice. Super nice guy.
Yeah, that's so good. Did I read where you were when you were younger, you did some speed skating?
I did, yeah. When I was in 8th grade in Puerto Rico, I used to just inline with friends and we watched that movie Brink. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I know that movie.
Channel. Yeah. So we all went to like I think it was a Walmart or some kind of like store. We all bought rollerblades and started doing like the aggressive inlining. And I found a skate team in the small town that I grew up in. And they were like, "Oh, you're good. Like, let's train you to do this professionally." I was like, "Well, I'm in 8th grade. Like, the hell?" So I was like, "You know what? Why not?" So I guess that was kind of like my semi-pro career in skating. I did a couple competitions where we did a track. It's the same exact track that's around a football field.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how the distance of it is, but I was third in a couple of races and I was able to do a lap in 43 seconds.
Sounds fast.
Yeah, it felt fast. And I didn't have like if you look online and you look for like not aggressive, if you look for like speed skating, they use like 5-wheel skates. They're specially made for that. I was I was a small child with a mom who raised me and 2 other brothers, so we couldn't afford those fancy skates. So I just used regular rollerblades that we had bought. Like, yeah,
that's got to be you're at a disadvantage. That seems pretty fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd like to think so. Some intense stuff though to like watch.
Yeah, I was I was a roller skater. So when I was younger, it was roller skating. You know, you had the 4 wheels. Yeah. And you roller skate. And we did that. Like we had a roller rink, and you'd learn to skate so that you could couple skate with the teenage girls, you know, when you were younger, and kind of learn it that way. And then inline skating kind of got popular after I got a little bit older. So I kind of missed that, but I always enjoyed the roller skating. And we did the speed skating, but it was on roller skates, which is a little different. Yeah. I don't know. Did you ever, so the big move for when we were younger was shooting the duck. Have you ever heard that expression?
I don't
That's the one when you're going around a corner and you've got that one leg that's out and you're in a crouch. Shooting the duck. I don't know what that.
Okay, I think I've seen it.
I feel like I've
seen it, but I don't think I think when you're going really fast on a track, your goal is to keep both feet on there, because I did see a couple of guys whose feet got twisted upon themselves.
Oh yeah.
They just rolled for a good seconds and had to get taken out on stretchers.
Yeah, it's not fun. That's not fun. So Kristen, talk about your early years. You know, what were you into? How did you get into hairdressing, and then how did that, interest in wrestling kind of become intertwined with it?
Well, I started in the acting world. So I was a big theater kid and went out to LA for a little bit.
Did you sing and dance?
I did.
Yeah.
She still sings and dances.
I do it all the time. Never annoys him at all. No. But that's where I started, was actually in the acting world. And so my first love is acting. And I always wanted to make it big. But in my later years, in 18, 19 age group, when your priorities change,
of course,
I happened to be on a set and got involved with the hair and makeup people and realized like, oh, well, if I go into this world, I can still make it in the industry, even if I don't make it as an actress.
That's right.
And I ended up falling in love with color, which is what I'm known for in the hair world. Is I'm a color educator and vivid hair color artist. So
I really need your guys' help.
Yes.
You wouldn't know it now, but back in the 80s, I had pretty epic hair. It just didn't stick around.
Yeah,
we gotta.
It decided to stay in the 80s.
Yeah, I got to get you those photos. I had it was down to my shoulders and curled up, and feathered. It was feathered.
Yeah. Oh, the feathering. Oh,
feathering.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. At the time, I was like, this is just a pain in the butt. It's too much time. And then, I got out of college and stuff, and it started receding stuff, and now I miss it. Oh, I take it back.
I want it back.
When did your love for wrestling come into it?
So I moved to Texas in 98. And in Texas, the big thing is you're either a football person, like a sports person, or there was wrestling, which was for all what we called kind of the other sport. The weirdos sport.
That's right.
What it was known as when I was a kid. And I watched Raw for the first time and fell in love with Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker. Yeah. And it helped that Stone Cold actually lived very close to where I lived. And some of his stepchildren actually went to school with my sister. So
oh wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
That we were in the same town as this mega man. And I loved the acting. So it was like a soap opera, but they're beating people up. How could I not love that? And that's where the love came in. And through the hair world really is how I started meeting some of the females in the world. And I've kind of I've kept going through that route. Being a female, I am his manager. So I'm not in the ring like he is. I don't like to get hurt. Yeah. So
I bet you sneak in once in a while.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do. If I need to do what I got to do, I will do it.
That's right. That's a good manager.
Personally, I love the mic. I love talking.
Yeah.
anything that creates a full entertainment for the people watching. So that way, if someone isn't a wrestling fan, they're still enticed by what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Did the acting background help you with the wrestling part?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think everyone who's in the wrestling world should take an acting class. You can be an amazing wrestler, but if you can't put on a show,
if you can't make people believe what's happening,
right,
then you
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and I think wrestling gets a little bit of a bad rap, I think, for non-wrestling fans, because it is perceived as fake, but I don't think people realize just how much athleticism you have to have in order to perform in a wrestling ring.
Absolutely.
Well, and you do get hit.
Yeah.
Those are all real.
Yeah. Sometimes, accidents happen and you get hurt. The intention is not to hurt the person that you're in there, because they're trusting you with their body as you are with yours. So, but sometimes things don't go according to plan, so, I've had a small shoulder injury, a chipped tooth.
Yeah.
I think those are really the main ones that have happened.
And then of course, just being older.
Yeah.
I know about that.
Honestly, it's more the next day where I'm things.
Did you have to learn to take a punch?
Yeah. So, again, it kind of goes back into the whole acting thing. It is a lot of acting, because everything that you're doing in there is, it is being pulled back, because you're not trying to actually punch somebody in the face. You're not trying to kick them. You're not trying to really put any actual pain in there. But, when it comes to being dropped on your back or on your chest, you learn how to do those things safely, but they're still going to hurt. I mean, you're still hitting something, even if there's padding, like you're still going against gravity. So your body's going to feel it.
Yeah.
But I mean, all of the training goes into all of that. The training goes into, how to do proper strikes, how to do certain moves when it comes to picking them up and dropping them down, where your main focus is protecting their head.
Right.
What you're doing is always going to be protecting the head, because that's where concussions can come into play, and a lot of different things like that. But yeah, I mean, like she said, you do have to have some kind of athleticism. I'm not like some of the guys we train with that they do crazy flips and tricks and stuff like that. Like I'm like, I'll stay on the ground.
For the most part.
For the most part.
No, he has a knee that he can hit a 6'5" person with.
Yeah.
So he's got the.
That's just the lead.
That's pretty good. Is that your move? What's your move?
So I've got a couple, but my main thing is very Muay Thai inspired striking. So if you look back at a lot of my work, it's a lot of kicks, a lot of knees. I do some suplexes, but the majority of my repertoire is a lot of strikes, and then I do a double stomp from the top rope. So that's usually about as high as I try to go to. I can't do the whole flips. My body just doesn't know how to flip quickly enough.
Yeah.
It's
not easy.
Work. Yeah, it really isn't. It really isn't.
Well, I told you my son was really into that when he was younger, and he took some classes and did some stuff. And just from watching those classes, it was really difficult to figure out the ropes. Just learning how to come off the ropes and to kind of use the ropes to your advantage, that type of stuff, pretty difficult. Yeah,
when you first start running the ropes, you are going to get all bruised up. You're going to be you're going to be all sorts of sore. That I would say is probably one of the hardest things to kind of learn.
For
really,
me, it
maybe
was.
for your body.
Yeah.
I'm 5'1", so where all the body parts hit on the ropes for me is a lot worse than where they hit for him. So that I hated now, like you develop, and it sounds weird to say like a callus almost, but you develop, your body learns to be able to handle and take all of these moves and hitting the ropes. Because in the beginning, when I hit the ropes, you could tell that I was having a good time at home with all the bruises on my body. It was telling people constantly like, no, I'm training.
Sure you are. So I wanted to ask you about these hairstylist shows, because it sounds like in my head I'm thinking, okay, you're watching somebody style hair, but it's a lot more than that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the best way that I always describe a hair convention to somebody. It's kind of like going to Comic-Con, or really like, or even the flea market. You're gonna go into this large building, and you're gonna have different booths, and every booth is gonna be selling you their product.
Right.
And every booth is gonna have an artist or several artists that will show you how to use their product. So when it comes to a hair show, there's two floors to it. There's the floor where it's the big kind of flea market, because you're going to get everything cheaper than if you were to purchase it at your distributing store.
Sure.
Because these companies fly in with hundreds of boxes, and their goal is by the end of this weekend to get rid of as much or all of it, because they don't want to pay to ship it back. Yeah. So they want to get rid of as much as they can get rid of. On top of that, there's always a secondary floor where it's classrooms. And in those classrooms, those companies will have specific artists of theirs teaching how to use their color, how to use their hairstyling products, how to use their tools. So it really depends. Like, some people go there just to buy a bunch of stuff, and other people mainly go for the education. And obviously you get the ones that are for both. Yeah. So.
And the largest companies also have large stages. Yes. And those are where the big, like when we did a main stage, it was we have models, and they put on a full performance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're a rock star, honestly, when you're on those stages, because I think the most I've seen him perform in front of was about 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
And they're just watching him cut. And it's crazy to be not only in the audience for that, but to make it to a stage, and you're looking out, and you do feel like you're kind of a big deal.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Are there, I know that like with tattooing, you have kind of celebrity tattoo people. I mean, is there celebrity hair people?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's Tabitha Coffey. She had a TV show. There's Guy Tang. He's
right.
Yeah. He's huge with his own color line. There's Robert Cromans. He's from Paul Mitchell. There's Anthony from Tony and Guy, or Anthony Muscala from, so there's there are these people that are like a big deal in the hair world. And
well, I'm assuming that you two are kind of a big deal now too. I saw you won all kinds of awards. So I'm guessing if you go to shows, people recognize you.
Yeah. We were lucky enough to build a presence through social media when we were really big into the hair world. Like it was one of those things where we like lived, breathed, and ate hair, but with us, we got to the point to where like, okay, we've done some really great things.
Yeah.
And we were never home, and it was it became so stressful to an extent, because we were traveling. So we were at an airport, or we were doing hair at a salon, doing, classes, or at a hair show, and then coming home and going straight to the salon. So we didn't have any kind of chill time.
That's exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of decided, and there were so many younger, hungrier, like people coming into the world of education. So we're like, you know what, like, let's just hang it up. If somebody requests a class from us, then we'll do it. But let's just kind of take a step back and let our friends that we know can be amazing in the industry, like, let's them step up and see what they can do. And then we got into wrestling, and we're kind of back to what we were trying to avoid.
You're traveling again.
Yeah. So now it's hair, training 4 days a week, going to the gym 4 days a week, doing shows, typically twice a week.
On the
weekends. And
wow.
Like we had this past weekend, we didn't have any shows. So we got to just be at the salon and do some hair and then come home. I mean, yesterday we didn't leave the house. I think
it was great.
Yeah, we left to just walk around the block and like
nice.
Yeah, we finally got like a day where it wasn't okay. We've got to do, we've got interviews, we've got shows, we've got to prepare for this. It was like, no, like this is a weekend where we could just like,
relax
out and relax and just watch documentaries all day. Not even anything like, we didn't even watch anything crazy. We were just watching documentaries. Like that was it. It was fantastic. They were great documentaries. But yeah, it was great just being able to just finally relax.
Yeah, that is great. So when you decided you're going to get into wrestling, so you worked on your costume, you kind of got your persona fixed up. What was the next step? How did you figure out, I'm going to try to join this group or appear on, at this show? How did that happen?
Okay. I was trying to think who was going to answer this one.
He gave you permission.
Once we kind of decided to do this, it was a year of just strictly training. I had a list of different names that I was thinking of. We knew the look we wanted to go for because it didn't stray far from what we normally look like.
Right.
And when it comes, and then, when it came into doing shows, that's kind of more of there's two ways that it's done. Either you approach a company, whether it's through social media, email, meeting the promoter in person. The way it's worked with us, for the most part, I've reached out to a few companies now, was somebody would say, oh, you've got to check these guys out. And so they would look at our Instagram, they would look at our YouTube or the school's YouTube and see our matches and say, all right, we like their look, we like their style, we like this whole cult ideology. They'd reach out to us through social media, and it would go from there. We'd tell them what our fee is. If they agree, they're like, okay, that's great, we want to bring you in. I've got everything tied up in a neat little bow. So I've got everything they need, from our music to our photos to matches to our information for our entrance and moves and blah, 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 like all in a folder on Dropbox. So the minute, we do that virtual handshake of yes, let's book you, they get that folder and that's it. They go from there. They just kind of, they tell, all right, we want you to be here on this date. And I'm like, all right, great.
So what's your wrestling persona? What's the name that you both go by?
So I go by Alexander Crowley.
I go by Lilith.
And we are two parts of the Cult of Crowley. So the Cult of Crowley.
I like that.
Yeah, the Cult of Crowley was kind of formed with the thought of a couple of different things. I did a lot of research on Aleister Crowley, which was an occultist from the 20th century.
Yep.
We mixed that in with, I don't know if you've ever watched Supernatural, the TV show.
Oh yeah, of course.
So there's Crowley, the crossroad demons who becomes the king of hell. And that's where the black eyes came from. When you watch the show, all the demons, black eyes.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you that, because that was when I saw the name, I was like, well, that seems like it's has a supernatural connection, but
exactly. So it's got a supernatural connection as well. And that's where the eyes kind of come into play. All the demons on Supernatural have black eyes. So I was like, I found the contacts online, ordered them. They were a pain to put in, but once I got used to it, it's pretty easy. And so we mixed those two personalities with David Koresh, which was the leader of the cult of the Davidians out in Waco.
Right.
So that's where the cult part really kind of came into. And it was one of those things, like we just started kind of putting it out there and people started like, who is that? Like, who are they? And then my tag partner, Casey, he got turned into a follower at one of the shows where he was a referee originally, but he was training to be a pro wrestler. And we all were at Hybrid School of Wrestling here in San Antonio. He didn't really know like what he wanted to do with his persona. So we started throwing ideas around. We're like, why don't you join us? And he's like, oh, that'd be great. We designed his gear. We came up with the idea for the name with him, Kristen, and
I blew stuff in his face to turn him.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. You got to have something like that.
Yeah, so Kristen and our coach teamed up together and came up with that idea. And so if you go way back to, I want to say November or September, that's when she blew the dust in his face and he bows down to us. And now when he wrestles, he's got one white eye, like a zombie eye. And that shows that he's under that, still under that spell. And that was kind of how that part of it. So like I let her tell her part because she knows. Exactly.
I created Lilith.
Yes.
So Lilith, of course, if you know lore of religious or witch, from the religious side, Lilith was actually Adam's first wife.
Okay. Yep.
And she was outcast from the garden because she would not be subservient to him. So it seemed like a perfect realm for me to go towards.
Yeah.
And our storyline goes that when I was pushed out, I went searching and found Crowley, who had all the power that I felt I deserved as a partner or as my equal. So I joined forces with him, and together we destroy everything. So my tag.
So you're the good guys.
No. Well, I mean, it depends, honestly. It really depends. Because
some companies do have
it. So with some companies we are good guys. But it's such an interesting concept.
That seems like that would be a hard twist to make you guys the good guys.
What do we call that?
So they call it a tweener. So essentially it's a weird word. But essentially we're, when we're bad guys, we're bad guys that people still like.
Right.
Because when we come out, people know who we are. So we get chants, we get signs, we get this, we get that. And then when we're good guys, we're those good guys that are still a little bad.
Like
so
anti-hero?
Yeah, kind of like an anti-hero. Yeah.
So we're like the Deadpools. So even when we're good guys, like, for example, we did a match with one of our colleagues and friends that we train with, Brandon Weiss. And in both matches, he's one of the bad guys where he just talks a lot of crap. So he started talking crap to her, and the referee was over checking on me because I had hurt my knee, and he puts his head through the ropes and she slaps him in the face. So
hey, he brought that on himself.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where it kind of, that's technically not us cheating, but it's still her getting involved, which when you're like a good guy, that's not.
You don't usually do that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I love the backstory. I mean, that makes me just really interested in watching you wrestle. I mean, that's a great backstory.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know you were going to mention your tag.
Oh, my tag is called the Mother of Mayhem. So
okay, explain that.
It's based on if I see him in a situation where he's not on top, I do whatever or bring whoever needs to come in to make him on top again. Whether it's our brute, Casey, or myself, we will create destruction to make sure he comes out on top.
Well, that's just good managing.
And by on top, like
win.
Because on top sounds a little off.
So win.
Yes.
Well, so I'm assuming that normally you win most of the matches.
For the most part,
yes.
It's a lot of it is
based on the company.
Based on the company that and the storyline they have. We've had storylines where we win. We've had storylines where we win with cheating. There's storylines where we lose because of cheating. So it all depends on, it all always comes down to the person or the company that books us for the show. Once you get there, one or two things are gonna happen. You're either gonna find out who you're wrestling prior to the show. They'll make match cards and flyers and they'll let you know. And then when you get there, you meet in the back with the other athlete that you'll be performing with, and you guys kind of come up with what you're going to do. And the promoter say, all right, you're going over, and that means you're going to win. So they'll say, if they say that I'm going to win, I'm going to say how. Like I'll say, okay, this is my finish. I do the double stomp from the top, or I'm going to put in a dragon sleeper because that's my submission finish. And then we figure out how to get to that point throughout the match.
Yeah, so you're actually kind of choreographing your own match.
Yeah, it's like a mini movie. You know, it's a movie. It's a short. You know, it's something that can go 6 minutes. It's something that can go 15, 20 minutes. It really just depends on where you are on the match card and what kind of match the company wants.
Yeah. So, Kristen, with your background in the acting world, have you thought about doing a short or about your personas in wrestling, or maybe a documentary type of thing?
I always think of those things. I think we're very cinematically drawn with our characters. So most of the promos that I do, it's not just me sitting in a room telling someone we're coming. It's very, we put a lot of effort into everything so that it draws people in.
Right.
We have talked about, do we have a vignette, which is kind of a talkless form of a short. But I think a short film about us would be amazing. Just the characters.
I do too. I would watch that.
We've got something that we're trying to plan here in the next before October with one of our really good friends. He actually wrote our song that we come out to. And he does a lot of the photography. He travels sometimes with us and does photography for us. We're gonna try to plan a couple of days here in the next month or so where he takes clips of us, in the woods or walking around or doing something kind of where it's, that ominous. And that'll have, those clips mixed in with match clips of me beating somebody up. And what I want to do is have it to where it goes in and out of her talking. So, you'll see her talking and then it'll be clips, but she's still talking, kind of like you said, like a mini movie. And that'll be to build like this, the finish to a storyline that we're working with a good friend of ours. And the end of the storyline is going to be, we're doing a Halloween show. So we're doing like 3 Halloween shows because everybody's like, oh my God, your look, like we've got to have you at the Halloween show. Okay. All right.
You're going to have a busy Halloween.
Yeah. October's going to be real busy for us.
So Luis, did you have a favorite wrestler growing up?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had tons. Shawn Michaels was always a favorite just because.
That was my son's favorite.
Yeah. He was fantastic. That man could get punched and he would flip flop everywhere. Obviously the Undertaker and Sting were inspirations for us with the way that we look. Vampiro was a really big one. He was in WCW and not enough people know of him. And then obviously like Gangrel was another one. He was the vampire in WWE.
Yeah. I've heard that name in a while.
So like those dark imaged wrestlers were the ones that really, culminated to creating what we have. Like those are all the ones that inspired us to make this dark, ominous, like cult style personas.
Yeah, that's so neat. I think when I'm a little older, so when I was growing up, it was Ricky Steamboat, and Dusty Rhodes, and Wahoo McDaniel. That kind of.
And they were all fantastic. I feel like the Gothic kind of aspect of wrestling didn't really start hitting until about the 90s,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Dusty, they're all fantastic. Yeah.
Well, you had all kinds in the 90s, because you even had like going back, you had Road Warriors, and Sting would have been one, and there was it was very popular.
Demolition were like kind of Gothic metal. Yeah, there were plenty of it, and that's really when it started really kind of taking off. And now there's tons of kind of Gothic inspired wrestling people now all over the place.
Have you ever been in the ring and just had it go, something went wrong, and how did you handle that?
We have actually. It was actually Casey and I's first independent match. We wrestled this tag team, and there was a bit of a fub up, and the rest of the match was kind of forgotten. Like the things that we had planned, they kind of just forgot. So when something like that happens, you just have to call it on the fly. Like you kind of do the rest of the match as things kind of progress, and you figure out who's going to do what, and the communication really comes in. We still did what we needed to do. We would have rather it not have gone that way. But a lot of it comes down to how you and your opponent handled the situation.
Right.
If you guys are both in the same mindset, and like, okay, maybe you're not feeling well, and that happened, where one of my friends wasn't feeling well, and he had to kind of get out of the ring, and
yeah.
So when I saw that he wasn't feeling well and he mentioned it was kind of at that point, that's where we really start working our personas, and we start really like trying to get in the referee's face and roll out and roll. That's when you start really, that's where the theatrics come in. That's where the action comes in.
Well, you have to distract.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. You've got to distract, and you've got to give them time to kind of be able to get back in there. So I think it always really depends on who you're in there with. That's gonna determine whether, okay, that fub up isn't a big deal. Let's pick it back up.
Yeah.
But nothing ever, when you get in the ring, nothing ever is gonna
go perfect.
Well, right.
It's always how you recover. And luckily, I've been in the ring with some really professional people, and most of them are good friends of mine. So we know, okay, oh crap, this happened. That wasn't supposed to happen. Grab me, do this. We know if you're the bad guy in this match and one of us messes up, you got to hit me. You got to hit me hard. Because that's where you're going to, if the minute you hit me and I hit the ground, people are going to be like, boo. And that's where you kind of take that moment to put over your persona.
Right.
And kind of both of you breathe and compose yourself and be like, okay, we messed that up. Let's move on. What's next? Let's just go through that. So
yeah, no, it makes sense. What about as hairstylists? If you had that moment where you just totally jacked something up.
Yes. There's no even denying that. Just yes. Like I said, I'm a color specialist. So I'm good at cutting, but I'm not his level. And I openly admit that. I have no issue admitting that. But it was in my earlier years. And so there's two types of scissors. There's your cutting scissors, and then there's ones that we have that are called thinning scissors or texturizing.
Right. Yeah, I know those. Yeah.
So I thought I grabbed those, and I didn't. I had the real ones. And this poor girl, I took like a section from the backside of her head, pulled it up like I was thinning it out, and took it right off.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible. That has to be horrifying as the person doing it.
So she actually was unaware.
Right.
She and I were having such great conversation, which is exactly why I think I did this. I just wasn't paying attention. that my immediate response was to continue. Like, I didn't just do that. Grab the thinning shears and just thin this chunk out until you couldn't see it. And in turn, she told me it was the best haircut she had ever had. So, I mean, technically it wasn't that bad on her end, but on my end,
you had that moment.
I did. I definitely did.
Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of color, so I luckily haven't really had any of those moments in that department. And I remember when I first started, obviously in hair school, like I had all kinds of fuck-ups. And then really after that, it was the main thing that I had was maybe like a few times. I remember one, I'll never forget it, because it was when I first started doing hair in Chicago. This girl wanted this like messy kind of bob, and she wanted a lot of texture, and she wanted to move, and she was showing me all these photos. And this haircut took me like 2 hours to do, and which is a long time when it comes to just doing a haircut. And the owner of the salon just saw me like just getting like so flustered, because no matter what I did, I couldn't please her. And the image that she had shown me was the hair was already in movement. So it's like, I can't mimic that unless you move.
Right.
Just keep doing this.
So it was one of those things that I just, I was lucky enough that my boss was great, and she just came over and she was like, you know what? You've been here for 2 hours. He's done everything he can. Clearly you're not going to be happy. Just go ahead and leave. And I think that was super, super stressful.
Pretty awkward, I think. Yeah.
I haven't really had too many of those.
Do you practice on each other?
We don't, honestly.
Well,
I mean, to an extent. I mean,
yes.
We used to when we had time.
Yeah.
Really mainly on her. Besides when I had blonde.
Yeah.
There was one point where I had like the ombre where it went from dark to blonde.
Yeah.
So she was able to work out a lot of kinks when it came to that. And then when it comes to haircuts, she gets her haircuts are a little bit more creative than mine. Mine is just, hey, trim my ends. Like mine, just trim my ends. I'm done. Like not even like a 5-minute haircut.
Yeah.
So with hers, they're a little bit more intricate. So so when I do cut her hair, I'm able to kind of like, we'll look at it. Oh, she really like, I love this haircut, and we'll watch the clip of how the process of how the person did it. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll give it a shot. Like, I'm at that point in the career, and like we're at that point in our careers that if we try something and it doesn't work out, like a new technique of sorts, we know how to fix it with our own techniques that we've kind of created or have blended in over the last X amount of years that we've been doing this.
Yeah It takes like a minute and a half to do mine. It's just a no guard zip.
You know what though, a no guard zip is hard because you've got to make sure you don't miss any hairs.
Well, that's right. That's right. There's nothing worse than getting it done, and then a day later you find that one hair that's still sticking up.
Oh yeah.
And all you do is you play with that one hair until you get that razor.
Well, I really appreciate you guys doing this. This is
thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. So with the wrestling side of it, what's the goal? I mean, are you happy kind of doing what you're doing, or do you have a plan to take it to higher levels? What's next?
We do. We have a goal.
Yeah.
We know where we want to go or would like to go from here. And that's kind of just, we're going to go where people want us to go right now. Right now it's about gaining the popularity, getting known to where we can have the option to go where we want to go. As a whole, at least.
Absolutely. I mean, we're still so new. We're still so new in this industry that, we've got a long-term goal, but our current main focus is getting known around Texas.
Yeah.
Getting the respect of promoters and peers and fans, and getting to where like people, oh my God, you guys have to bring these guys in, like they're amazing. And and then, you know, going from there, and then it's going to be, okay, let's go out of state. And then once out of state, then it's like, okay, these are the companies, these are the big companies we'd like to work for. Like, let's see what we need to do to do that. You know, with us, we're really fortunate to have the school that we're training at Hybrid School of Wrestling over here in San Antonio. Our coach Chris Marvel, and we've got our coach Funaki. I don't know if you remember Funaki from WWE.
Of course, yeah.
So they,
what a great coach to have.
Absolutely. So there too, and then we've got our coach Mark, who's our fitness and health coach, and he's helped me a lot with. You know, when I started the school, I was maybe like 150-ish. And now I'm about 170, 180. So he's helped me get to a closer physique that I need to. Obviously, I'm still kind of working on that. But having
it never ends.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. We've been lucky enough that we've had, you know, Chris and Funaki, and they're both so well respected in the industry. So when they hear that we were trained there, they're, oh, I know Chris Marvel, or oh, I know Funaki. Yeah, we'd love to work with you. So having people like them who have let us kind of run with these personalities that we've created has been fantastic. So we do have goals. We know we know one of the companies we'd love to go work for, because we've got such great friends there. And that's kind of where we're at this point in our lives.
We're not kids.
Yeah. So we know our lifespan in such a hard-hitting, you know, industry that takes a lot out of your body. We know we've got a limited time. So really for us, it's like, we just want to go work with friends, and we want to have fun. And you know, if we can do that on TV once a week, then why the hell not?
Right.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. When we first started doing the podcast, this was a couple years ago, we had on Sid Vicious.
Oh wow!
So and he was terrific. He was terrific, but he would like my son, you know, was such a big fan, but he wasn't, you know, he wasn't comfortable doing interviews, so he'd get nervous. And Sid would turn that heel turn on, and he asked him a question, and he just went off on him. And I mean, just lit him up. It's the funniest thing that I've ever seen, because he just blew him up. And you know, my son Brett, he's looking to me for help, and I'm like, I'm not helping you.
No way.
I'm not messing with Sid Vicious. Come on. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been terrific. Yeah. I hope I get to see you in person one day. That would be terrific.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'd love that. We need to get you out in West Virginia one of these times.
Yeah.
When you start getting out of Texas.
if you've got some wrestling companies over there, you send them our way. We'll talk to them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we post everything on our social medias for any shows that we're going to be at, any kind of traveling we do. So that's always a good way to find us.
Well, and that was my next question. So go through your social media handles.
So my Instagram is a.crowley with 2 Y's and an underscore.
My Instagram is the only Lilith.
And then I like it. Twitter is the same. It's a.crowley 2 Y's underscore.
And my Twitter is I am the Lilith.
So they're both a little different, because people already had the other ones.
I know we ran into that. We're underscore with MeisterCon, which makes who in the world out there is using MeisterCon? I don't know.
Right. I know. I even tried. I tried to find just a Crowley, and somebody had it, and I messaged them directly and offered, I'll buy that off of you. But they hadn't been on since like 2017, and they had a picture of a cat. Like that was it.
Wasn't
like
even
it was
a real profile.
I was like, there's no way of getting it.
You're out of luck at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I found you guys really easy. It was
great,
easy.
Great.
Yeah, came right up, and there's some great stuff on there. I was looking through your Instagram. You got some really good stuff, some clips, and it's really good.
Thank you. Yeah, we try to keep it as consistent and as clean as possible, so people know like what we do. You know, I especially like with my page, I had to transition it from hair to wrestling. So every once in a while, I'll still throw a little bit of hair stuff in here so people know, like, hey, I'm still doing hair. That's just wrestling.
Well, that's right. You never know. At some point, you may want to quit wrestling, go back to hair.
Absolutely, yeah. You never know.
Keep the options open.
Of course.
Yes.
Absolutely do.
Well, thank you guys so much. Hold on a second. I'm gonna hit pause. How fun was that? The Cult of Crowley. So you've got Luis and Kristen. Terrific. Absolutely had a blast talking with them, and they were so nice with me screwing up their name. And I knew I was probably wrong, but I took a shot, and they were really gracious about it. So I appreciated that. A lot of fun. Definitely do yourself a favor. Go check out their social media and watch, you know, some of the antics and the performances in the ring. Really, really worth your time. They're amazing and talented. I mean, some of the outfits, the hairstyles. I mean, it's some of the best stuff I've seen. It's really, really good. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. Really appreciate that. If you haven't done so yet, you know, we could use the help with our YouTube channel, MeisterCon Pod. If you could like and subscribe, we'd appreciate that. You can check out our website, meistercon.com. It's got all 250 or so episodes, audio and video. It's got a terrific geeky blog from Brett that's just wonderful. He's such a good writer. And it'll let you know of any of our appearances or anything that we're doing as well. So you can check that out. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.